everyone. I am Natalie Cullen-Shirtliff. I am the grassroots manager for ACS CAN here in Connecticut, and I am so happy that you are all here today. It's always great to have a packed room and to be joined by so many legislators that are supporting us here today. So I just wanted to kick it off and thank you for all being here and cover a couple quick logistical things. So every advocate from the American Cancer Society, you guys should have a red volunteer packet that has information in it. You also should all have a name tag that has a group number. So try to find the people in your group that have the matching number as you, and then send one person to the registration table from your group to get your packets for your lawmakers, for your meetings with lawmakers later today. Your meeting times, if you have a specific time with your legislator, is on the back of your name tag. If you don't have a meeting time, you'll just be stopping by your legislator's office. So find myself or Jim or Bright, and we'll point you in the right direction with your group after the program is over. So me, Bright, and Jim, can you guys wave? Where are you? Bright, wave. Jim. Find one of us and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. But without further ado, I want to introduce one of our volunteers extraordinaire. Roger Levesque is our lead volunteer for the state of Connecticut for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. And he is here to tell you why we're all here today. So thank you, Roger.
Good morning, everybody. As Natalie said, I'm Roger Levesque. I'm the state lead ambassador for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. What that means basically is I'm the head volunteer. And I want to thank everybody for being here. It's great seeing some familiar faces as well as some new faces, and definitely the young ones. One of the organizations I volunteer for, at the end of every email I have a signature. It's a quote by Elizabeth Andrew. Volunteers do not necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. So for that, we really do thank you guys all being here. Today is about the lawmakers hearing from people like you, the people that live in their communities, the people that they represent. Your voice is incredibly impactful as you remind lawmakers that they must stand up for our kids to protect them from deadly tobacco products. In a few minutes, you're going to hear from my daughter, and she's going to be sharing why she supports Tobacco 21 and the impact tobacco has in our school and on her friends. I want each of you to think of the reason that you're here. What brings you here today? I am here because of my kids. I am here because I lost a dear friend, my father-in-law, and my children's papa, Gary, to lung cancer. A great man, but a smoker at a young age. I am here because years of advocating for cancer fighters in Washington and here in Hartford has taught me that my story, your stories, play a huge role in getting important legislation passed. It plays a huge role in how your elected officials vote on legislation, and sometimes will turn them into a champion for our cause. Trust me when I say that all you need is your story. Your elected official will listen. You are the constituents. You have taken time away from your family, your lives, and your jobs to come here today and tell your stories and demand change. They will listen, and your story will matter to them. I am here. My son Brandon is 14. Next year he's entering high school. Although he's a great kid, he's an athlete, stays active, he's still a kid. You all remember the pressures of high school and trying to avoid sticking out so that you're not a target of upperclassmen. My son is going to start his high school career immediately surrounded by seniors because of sports. Whether on the field or in the locker room in the gym, he will be with kids 4 years more mature and old enough to buy tobacco products. As a freshman, when I went to school at Goodwin Tech, I was pressured into trying smoking because I was in class with seniors, shop. I got addicted, and I smoked for 25 years, until losing my friend Gary scared me to quit. It scares me to death that one of these upperclassmen decides that my son is going to be the freshman he's going to call out, or pressure into trying vaping because it's the cool new thing and safe. High school is hard enough. If we can take tobacco out of our schools, it's one less thing our kids have to worry about. I want to thank you all for taking time coming here out of your busy schedules to tell your legislators your stories. Think of your story and just tell it from the heart. They will remember you. And from there, I want to hand it over to my daughter, Evelyn Levesque.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for joining us today to hear about why it is time for Hartford to raise its sales age for tobacco products to 21. My name is Evelyn Levesque. I am 16 years old and I'm a volunteer for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. We've come a long way in our fight against tobacco over the years, but that does not mean our work is done. That does not mean that tobacco has stopped its devastating toll in our community. Did you know that 56,000 kids who are under age 18 and living in Connecticut will die prematurely from tobacco use? 56,000. I go to the Greater Hartford Academy of the Arts, and I'm a junior, right about the age where seniors give us tobacco and ask us to try it, and sadly most juniors do. I have a friend who is 15. Her sister just graduated last year, and for her birthday, her sister bought her a Juul. Do you know what a Juul is? It is a type of e-cigarette that uses nicotine salts that exist in leaf-based tobacco for its key ingredient. At 15, she is now addicted to a smoking replacement. She ruined her life and her sister's life, and that's not okay. Raising the state's tobacco sales age to 21 will save lives by preventing more of our young people from becoming addicted at an early age. We are the one this policy impacts. We are the one the tobacco industry views as the replacement smokers. But I refuse to be a replacement smoker. I support Tobacco 21 because when I was 10 years old, I lost my grandfather to lung cancer. If my grandfather did not start smoking at an early age, he would still be around today to watch me grow up, be at my dance recitals, watch me perform, be around when I get married, and maybe enjoy his great-grandkids. Tobacco has taken that away. My dad, Roger, was peer pressured into smoking at the age of 14 by 18-year-old seniors. I thank God every day that he quit, or today's speech may have been about him. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It always is incredible to hear from Evelyn. She's such a tremendous advocate and really a clone of her father. Next speaking, we have Dr. Andrew Salner from Hartford Hospital.
Good morning, everybody. My name's Andy Salner, and I'm director of the Helen and Harry Gray Cancer Center at Hartford Hospital and a 38-year American Cancer Society volunteer. As a practicing oncologist, I continue to see the scourge of tobacco use each and every day as tobacco continues to be the major cause of cancer death in the U.S. Why increase the sale age of tobacco products, including electronic cigarettes, to 21, and what is the benefit? Nationwide and in Connecticut, electronic cigarette use amongst middle and high school students has now surpassed combustible cigarette use, doing so at an alarming rate. The Department of Education reported that just last year alone, school disciplinary actions associated with the use of e-cigarette use went from 300 to about 2,100, a six-fold increase. In response to a nationwide increase in e-cigarette use of 78% over the same period, the U.S. Surgeon General labeled youth e-cigarette use as an epidemic and urged states to act to address the crisis. Finally, a 2016 U.S. Surgeon General's report concluded that e-cigarette use is strongly associated with the use of other tobacco products, and we're now seeing that combustible tobacco use is now being done by people who have started with e-cigarettes. So e-cigarettes seem like they may be a gateway towards using regular cigarettes. Unfortunately, the CDC confirmed that a spike in combustible cigarette use for the first time in 8 years, with more than 1.3 million more youth smokers than the year before. We're concerned that e-cigarette use is creating a new generation of Connecticut children who will suffer from a deadly, lifelong addiction to nicotine and tobacco products. This is an important issue, as nationally 95% of adults who smoke start before they turn 21. In Connecticut, 1,100 kids under 18 will try tobacco for the first time this year, and many of them will move on to using multiple tobacco products. In fact, the U.S. Surgeon General estimates that 56,000 Connecticut youth alive today will lose their lives prematurely due to tobacco use. From a medical perspective, adolescent brains are more susceptible to the effects of nicotine and nicotine addiction. From an access perspective, almost half of 8th grade students and 2/3 of 10th grade students say it's easy to get cigarettes and e-cigarettes because older youth smokers are a major supplier for younger kids who rely on daily contact with 18 and 19-year-old friends to buy them. This legislation will cut off that tobacco lifeline for our kids. Tobacco use costs the state of Connecticut $2 billion in health care costs annually, or about $173,000 every hour. Such potentially large reductions in both youth rates and mortality rates will produce significant economic savings in addition to reducing suffering and death from tobacco-related disease. Tobacco use remains the leading cause of preventable death in this country. Tobacco use continues to kill more people in Connecticut than alcohol, AIDS, car crashes, illegal drugs, accidents, murders, and suicides combined. Increasing the sale for tobacco products to 21 is a promising intervention, a public health intervention, as a complementary part of a comprehensive tobacco control strategy that reduces tobacco use so our children can grow up not the next generation of smokers, but as the first tobacco-free generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Salner. So now we've heard from a parent, we've heard from a student, and we've heard from a medical perspective of why this is so important. So up next, we have Bright Johnson, who is the Government Relations Director with the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network, who's here to introduce some of the legislators that are supporting us.
So I have to be honest, I'm not usually used to being surrounded by this kind of leadership, but this is exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at leadership, both the House and Senate, and I'm thrilled that so many folks are here today. While there's obviously still more work to be done and more votes to be taken, we do want to thank Governor Lamont for including Tobacco 21 in his first budget proposal as governor, and House and Senate leadership on both sides for supporting and facilitating the work that has gone into this measure. Thank you very much to the Public Health Committee for passing the bill with such strong bipartisan support, as well as to all of the individual senators, representatives, and stakeholders who have tirelessly invested so much time and effort in a truly collaborative fashion on Tobacco 21. And with that, I would like to introduce the President of the State Senate, Senator Martin Looney.
Thank you so much, Bright. It's great to be with you all this morning on this good cause that has found the right time. I think this is the year that we will be able to do this. As you see, strong bipartisan support represented in this room this morning. I've sponsored legislation of this kind before, as have other members of the General Assembly, but there's always a time when things seem to coalesce and momentum seems to gather, and this is the year, I believe, to raise the age for tobacco products to age 21. It's critical because of what the other speakers have said about just the toxic and tragic effects of tobacco use, moving down to younger and younger people all the time as easy access from 18-year-olds can introduce them to the product. I think it's important to recognize that tobacco is always toxic in every context, in every circumstance, in any amount. Obviously, there have been medical reports that have shown that alcohol in moderation, notably red wine and other things, have reportedly beneficial effects if used in moderation. Same thing, medical marijuana is beneficial for many conditions, but there is no context in which alcohol is beneficial for anyone at any time. And its effects are cumulative, and its effects are disastrous and tragic for families in this state and all over the country. So as you see, the leadership of both parties in both chambers is here. Speaker Simowitz and Majority Leader Ritter from the House, our Republican leader, Senator Fasano, the chairs, Senator Abrams, and the ranking member, Senator Summers from the Public Health Committee, the vice chair, Senator Anwar, who is, of course, also a physician, other members of both chambers and both parties here. So I believe that with that bipartisan support and and involvement this year and commitment to the issue. It's one whose time has come, and I look forward to the passage of Tobacco 21 in 2019. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. Next up, Senate Minority Leader Len Fasano.
Thank you. I echo the comments of Senator Looney, but let me add this. How many of you, it's the first time you're here at the Capitol? Raise your hand. All right. So you guys have got a great job to do today, and you're going to meet with legislators, and you're going to tell them why it's important for this bill to pass the House and the Senate, and for the governor who endorses the bill to become law. And that's your job today. We want to listen to your voices. So you have a very impactful job, and that's talking face-to-face to the legislators, letting them hear from you why this is important for your future and for the lives of the people in the state of Connecticut. That's what your job is today. That's what the People's House does, is allow you to come here and express those views. You have wide bipartisan support on this bill, and we look forward to its passage. So get to work after this is over, get the job done, and then let's celebrate the day that the governor signs this bill into law. Thank you.
He's absolutely right. Thank you so much, Senator. Next up is House Majority Leader Matt Ritter.
Thanks, Bright. And it's really been a team effort, I know, in the Public Health Committee. I just want to recognize some of the House members as well that are here who have been strong supporters. Representative Berry, Representative McCarthy-Vahey, Representative Steinberg, who chairs the Public Health Committee, and the Speaker of the House, Joe Ersonwitz, was here, but he had to pop into another meeting. But I think Joe and I want to let you guys in on a little secret. We are going to vote on this, as Len and Marty said, and we're going to do it in the next 4 weeks. So in the House of Representatives, in the next 30 days, we'll vote on this bill. There's an urgency to this, and I think the public isn't waiting long enough. Just my last thought on this is 4 years ago, I chaired the Public Health Committee, which Representative Steinberg chairs now, when Bright first brought this concept to us. At the time, I think Hawaii was the one state that had done it. And there was a lot of pushback, sort of the libertarian streak, the idea that folks when they're 18 can serve in the military, they can drive a car, they can vote, they can do certain things. But what, as Len alluded to as you meet with legislators, what carried the day over the last 4 years is you. It's your public advocacy, it's your stories. Now, this is going to pass in a bipartisan way, but just 4 years ago, just 48 months ago, it couldn't even get out of committee. And now here it is today. Connecticut's been one of the first states in the country to do it. We're going to save countless lives, and you all play a much larger role than anybody else in this building. We thank you for that. Thanks.